Now, I've started every single message in this series with this phrase, and I'll say it again because I think it's important. Our generation despises fake. We can recognize fake better than any other generation. We can love you for being real, but we distance ourselves from people who are pretenders. And I think it's very true, and I've given the reasons why, but one of the biggest reasons why I think our generation is so unique is because of media, because of TV, movies, all of those different settings. We're the first generation with reality television where we watch people being themselves and enjoy it. And we're not watching someone play a character, although you could make an argument that they are playing a character. We're watching people being themselves on camera. So, we can spot fakes so quickly. This is in your notes. I said, the way that we worship is a strong indicator of just how contagious we really are. We truly are. Philippians 4:4 says this, celebrate God all day, every day. I mean, revel in Him. As I read that, revel to me, and this is the dictionary definition. I only do this for a living. Revel means to engage in lively and noisy activities. Revel means to engage in lively and noisy activities. I think that's such a cool word to use. I like word placement. I'm a pretty big fan of word placement. And God has a meaning and a purpose for everything He does and why those words are there. And that's such a cool placement because it's talking about celebrating God every single day. And everything we do, we celebrate God. It's not, worship isn't something that happens in a time frame. It's not something that we put a 15-minute stamp on and that's it. Worship is celebrating God all day, every day. And really, not just saying, God's so good, and then we move on throughout our day, but really engaging in lively and noisy activities, letting people know, man, God is truly good. He's good every single day. And He's not just good when I'm here on Sunday or on Thursday nights, but He's good every day of my life. And we get excited about it. I put this down in my notes. I said, is my life a continuous celebration of everything that God has done for me? Is it a mirror that reflects who He is? Do I have a lifestyle of worship? They have a great video, and I think that's going to really demonstrate this. It's such a unique view on things, and I kind of tailored my message off of this video because it's so powerful. Let's check it out.
Directed at Him and focused towards Him. It's a bubbling over of joy because of what He's done for us. It's the heart declaration of exactly who He is, so that even our own ears are reminded. and it overflows, and it floods into our lives, becoming our lifestyle. And He is our life. When we worship, we join with heaven. We participate in the eternal principle. We join the momentum and the song of the angels. And there, in that golden rhythm, we're changed, renewed, refreshed, encouraged by the giver of life and supplier of freedom. What is worship? This is.
It's so simple. It's easy to forget. It's so simple that it's easy to lose sight. It's so simple. But do I have a lifestyle of worship? When people look at my life, do they see a celebration of who God is and how much we love Him? Psalms 34:9 says, "Worship God if you want the best. Worship opens doors to all of His goodness." Worship isn't something you do. It's something that you experience. And I don't know how to explain this to someone who's never really experienced it. There are so many great settings in my life that as I look back, I can realize all the different places, all the different times where, we get, a lot of times I think we get caught up in experiences. I think we get caught up in the event. An event that happened in our lives, moments in time, and we lose sight of the process. We lose sight of it's an everyday thing. That worship isn't something that it's an event. It's something that happens in 15 minutes in our day. Maybe 3 times a week. But it's a process of an everyday thing. But as I look back on my life, on the different real events that God's done in my life, the different things that He's opened me up to, the different changes He's made in my life, so many of them, so many times, events are incredible because they start the process. Church camp, whenever I was a teenager, man, there were so many great events. As I think back in my life at church camp, so many great services that we were at, services that started at 6 o'clock and you didn't get out until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And you never thought to yourself, man, this lasts forever. You look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And it just shoots by. Those are some really fond memories for me. Men of Iron was incredible. I remember my very first Men of Iron. I was 18 years old, never been before. Obviously, this was my first time. But coming in from church camp, there are so many different reasons people are at church camp. For youth, females, it's males. There's a million different reasons why people go to church camp. But Men of Iron is so cool because there's one reason why you're there. You're not there to meet other guys. You're there to press in and to get in God's presence and love on Him and care about Him and get closer to God. That was it. That's the whole reason. So you got 1,000 guys up there with one reason to be up there, and that's to get closer to God. And so Men of Iron, man, that was an incredible event. And it's incredible how God can do similar things in your life every time you go up, but then at the same time, every single time you go up, He does something different. And He shows you a new side to Him, and He shows you new things. And so the event is important because it often starts a process. It often starts us moving in the right direction, and then we're able to do the right thing day after day after day. But events are important. And so I asked you a couple questions here, and this isn't in your notes, but when was the last time you lost yourself in worship? The last time you were truly in God's presence? the last time you wept in worship? Really wept. The last time you felt God move. Worship isn't something you do, it's something you experience. Psalms 25:14 says, God friendship is for God worshipers. They are the ones He confides in. I put this down on my notes. I said, do you want to be someone that God confides in? Do you care if you have a relationship with God, or are you content with acquaintance status? Are you content just being an acquaintance to God? Are you content just being somebody who could pick Jesus in a lineup but don't know any of His characteristics? You could talk about who Jesus was, but you're not real sure who He is. And I think it's so important. I don't know how to describe this to you. It's something you really have to experience for yourself. But that verse is so true, because God friendship really is for God worshipers. A relationship with God doesn't happen when you don't spend time with somebody. It's like having any good relationship. Any relationship that matters and counts, it's going to be lengthy and actually have any kind of long-term status, is a relationship where there's two people that are both involved. Where one person is communicating to the other person is communicating to that person. And it's a two-way street. And it's the same with our relationship with God. If we're actually going to have a relationship with God, and He's not just going to be Savior, but He's actually going to be Lord, then for that to happen, I have to make a commitment that every chance I get, I'm going to communicate with the Father. And I'm going to communicate to God and let Him know how much I care about Him. Let Him know what's going on in my life. Let Him know what I need. Let Him know what I want. Let Him know how thankful I am for everything He's doing for me. Let Him know how appreciative I am of everything He's going to do for me. All of those things are so important. And we get lost in, sometimes I think we get lost in the redundancy of it. It's so easy to pray once. It's difficult to pray over and over and over again. It's difficult to make a commitment every single day to pledge yourself for 15 minutes, for 30 minutes, for an hour, or whatever it is that everybody's schedule is so different. One of my favorite things about riding a motorcycle now is I don't have a radio. There's no radio, there's no phone, there's nothing. There's just blank space. And it's great, because that's my time with God. It's a little scary sometimes, you don't want to close your eyes, but you can focus in. Worship says, I don't care who's around, because I love my Father, and my Father loves me. 1 Samuel 6:21 and 22. They're bringing in, they're ushering back in the Ark of the Covenant, back into Jerusalem, and that at that time, understand, that is God's presence. God could not be everywhere because of the rules that He set up and the different things He set up from the moment Adam and Eve sinned. He was no longer everywhere. Not on this earth. And so His presence was located inside of the Ark of the Covenant. They were bringing it back to Jerusalem. And David is so excited. He's the king. I mean, he's the boss. But this is what happened. He gets so excited, takes off all of his kingly robes. And that's so important. Because at that time, that was like, man, that was what separated him from just Joe Blow. Takes off his crown, puts on a sackcloth, begins to dance and sing and get excited. Just to show God, man, I love you. Thank you for being here. We worship you. You're welcome in this place. And his wife, who was Saul's daughter, the king before him, sees him and tells him, man, you can't do that. You're foolish. It was stupid of you to do that. And this is what he says in verse 21. He says, replied to Michael, says, in God's presence I'll dance all I want. He chose me over your father and the rest of our family and made me prince over God's people, over Israel. Oh yes, I'll dance to God's glory, more recklessly even in this. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll gladly live like a fool. David basically said, who cares what my title says that I'm supposed to be? Who cares what I'm supposed to act like, or who I'm supposed to be in public? Who cares who's with me? signing